Hi, this is 100 and 100, where we are reviewing 100 VR games in 100 days. Today we are looking at Racket Fury Table Tennis VR. Racket Fury is one of the most impressive games we've played in VR, and it is really amazing how closely this game mimics the real world when you're playing virtual reality table tennis. We were impressed with the sounds in the game when the paddle would hit the ball. We were impressed with the physics of the ball movement. We were impressed with the movements we made in the real world being mapped really well, nearly perfectly in VR. We felt like we were playing actual table tennis. So we're really excited to jump into this review with you today and look at Racket Fury. In our VR Gear game reviews, we cover as many aspects of the game as possible so that you can be informed before you try or buy one of these VR titles. Let's jump into this VR title of Racket Fury, starting with getting up and running and where you can buy it. This game is available on all of the VR stores, and it typically sells for $19.99, but it is selling for $9.99 on the Viveport store. However, if you have a Viveport Infinity subscription, it's free, but you can buy it for $19.99 on the Oculus store and the PSVR store and the Steam store. The download file for this one is 2.5 gigabytes, which will take a reasonable amount of time on a fast internet connection, but once download is complete, installation is automatic and you'll be able to jump right into the game menu and pick which game mode you would like to play. The most exciting part about this game, like I said, was the physics and how closely it mimics the real world. You can practice hitting the ping pong ball with your paddle, which gives you sort of a feel and an early taste of what's to come in the game. This game is clearly a sports simulation type game that allows you to upskill your VR table tennis. Mastering the controls in this game is what this game is all about. You'll be able to add spin to the ball, you'll be able to add redirection to the ball, and you'll be able to hit the ball, all based on how you're tilting your controller. Fortunately, in the settings menu, you're able to make some small tweaks and adjustments to how the paddle is held in your hand so that you're not having to hold the controller in a different way than you normally do. But we tend to do that anyway. It's just nice to know that the options are there to make those small tweaks so that the game is a little bit more natural as you're playing. You'll play this game from the first-person perspective, where all you'll see during gameplay is your ping pong paddle. For most of the games you'll be playing, there will be a robot across the table from you. Depending on the difficulty level that you select, the skills of the opponent will change. We tended to play against the easier AI at first, just so we could get a feel for the game, and there are some concessions that the AI makes that are clearly there to help you feel better about yourself so that you can score some points. But it is set up really well to help you learn how to become a better table tennis player in VR. For theme and story, this game is lacking a story, but that's okay. A lot of these sports simulation games that we've looked at don't have a story per se, but they definitely have a theme, and this game has a clear table tennis theme. The theme for this game was very well executed. The sports genre and the table tennis specifically genre has a good number of contenders, but we haven't seen a game that has implemented ping pong physics as well as Racket Fury has. This game was really actually very impressive and kind of mind-boggling how closely the sound of the ball was to the real thing and how well the physics matched the real world physics of a ping pong ball. We didn't see this in other games like VR Ping Pong Pro or Racket NX, which isn't really a ping pong game, it's more of a racquetball game. But even then, the physics didn't quite map to what you would see in the real world. In Racket Fury, you're getting a very, very close resemblance of the real world while you're playing in VR, and we loved that about this game. For controls, you have a very straightforward and natural way of holding onto the ball with one hand and hitting it with the opposite hand. To release the ball during a serve, you simply release the trigger. To grab a ball that has fallen away from you, you pull the trigger and it just shows up in your hand and you're able to serve again. The controls were very natural, and the only other thing you do in the game is respond by swinging your controller, either with the forehand or the backhand, as you're moving from side to side on the table. For music and sound, this game didn't have any music that was playing, but there was some sound, and the sound really was just the ping pong ball going back and forth across the table and your paddle hitting it. Outside of that, the game was really void of any noticeable sound that would make you feel more immersed or less immersed really, but the sound of the ball was very convincing, which added to the level of immersion, although there wasn't lots of sound to begin with. For player movement, you'll be moving back and forth from one side of the table to the other as you are trying to hit back volleys over the net. We found that in this game and all other table tennis ping pong games, there is a serious problem when the opponent hits a ping pong ball that requires you to reach outside of your guardian area. It's as if the AI does not care that reaching outside of your area might result in your own injury. This, as well as VR Ping Pong Pro, are clear violators of the Guardian boundaries. During this game, early on, we got bloody knuckles from hitting the wall while reaching across the Guardian to try and hit a serve back. We feel like this is something that's within the game developer's control to change, and instead of just warning the player that they're about to reach over the Guardian, which nobody's thinking about that while they're trying to return a serve, they should just have the AI either not hit the ball outside of the Guardian boundaries or have the player set up the table squarely in the middle of the play area, or perhaps do both. Either way, player movement in this game might result in you reaching beyond your Guardian boundaries and getting hurt or hurting someone else, or just annoyed that you have reached beyond what you've decided is the boundaries of where you'd like to play VR. Motion sickness in this game is non-existent. You're not going to get sick, the game is stationary, and the world is not moving around you, and you're not moving through the world. The movement is only done by you moving from one side to the other on your side of the table tennis table. As a result, motion sickness is kept to a minimum. You are not going to become sick playing this game, and it allows you to really stay in the game for a long period of time and upskill your table tennis and figure out ways to beat the robot AI that is across the table from you. For environment and immersion, this game gets a lot of credit for making such a convincing table tennis experience. While the environment that you're playing in, futuristic, robot opponent, athletic dome that you've probably never seen before or that you won't see for many years into the future, the real thing that makes this game immersive is the gameplay and how well the physics were implemented for table tennis. We were really impressed with that, and that's what kept the game captivating. And that's what convinced us that if we kept working at it, we would improve our skills in Racket Fury just like you would in regular, real-world table tennis if you just kept learning more about how to hit the ball and how to hit it back to certain spots on the other side of the table. The game was very responsive to how you hit it, and it was actually something that was learnable and something you could master with enough practice. All right, let's look at the overall scorecard for Racket Fury Table Tennis VR, starting with theme and story. This game is getting an 8 out of 10 for theme and story. While this game does not have a storyline, a lot of the sports simulations games don't, and that's fine, as long as the theme is executed well. And this game, the theme of table tennis, there is no other game that executes better than this one at the table tennis theme. And so an 8 out of 10, which is a really great score for theme and story. For controls, we're giving this game a 9 out of 10. That's a fantastic score, near the top of the range, and there's very few controls you need to master. The reason the score is so great is how responsive the controls are to your movements, to your button input, and to the way that you swing your paddle at the ball. This game was a very good game, and the controls were perfectly matched to it. For music and sound, this game is getting an average score of 5 out of 10. The game did a great job with sound effects. The paddle hitting the ball was very accurately matched, but there wasn't a lot else going on with the audio, which is an area the developers can look to enhance the experience of being inside of a Racket Fury match. For player movement, this game is getting an 8 out of 10. The movement here is limited to moving left and right, and movement could have gotten a perfect score for this type of game if the game developers implemented a greater level of safety into the reaching beyond the guardian issue that we had mentioned earlier. Otherwise, movement was really great in this game. It was responsive, and as you moved from side to side, you were able to feel that the game was perfectly responding to your movements, and so an 8 out of 10 for player movement. For motion sickness, this game is getting a perfect score of 10 out of 10. You will not get motion sick in this game. Not in the menu, not during gameplay, not during the victory lap. I don't think there is that, but maybe if we win, we'll find out. There is no motion sickness. You won't feel sick playing this game. It's a really great game for newcomers to VR because the likelihood of motion sickness is reduced to an absolute minimum. For environment and immersion, we're giving this game a 7 out of 10. This is a really great score. The environment was really convincing, specifically around gameplay. You were so immersed in the gameplay because of the way the physics were executed. The game developers did an outstanding job making sure that they figured out how a ping pong ball is supposed to travel across a table, how it's supposed to respond to certain types of paddle hardness or softness, and also how it should respond when you're trying to apply spin to the ball. All of these things were accounted for. The game developers did a great job in making that all a central part of gameplay. And so a 7 out of 10 for environment and immersion. And now the overall score for Racket Fury Table Tennis VR is a really great 7.8 out of 10. We enjoyed this game. The replayability of this one is really high, and we definitely will be coming back to this game specifically to play more VR table tennis. This has been 100 in 100, where we are reviewing 100 VR games in 100 days. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, click the notification bell so that you can be notified tomorrow when we release another VR game review. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.